Sorry guys, it's been fun. I love you.
Welcome back to VCulture. Regarding the allegations that this has been VTuber has been.
私のストリームに来てくれてありがとう。ところで、他のストリーマーがルフしているいくつかの噂を整理したいと思います。私は世界中に多くのボーイフレンドを持つ69歳の男です。さようなら、私はあなたを愛しています。そして私はストリーミングから1万年休止します。
Yoink. Wow. What a stream. I didn't understand any of it, but it was fun to have in the background. So, are you gents sticking around for like an encore stream, right? Yeah, like that's gonna happen. Oh, you want to see me stream? I mean, I could. Not like professionally like Miss P, but like for fun. You guys think I could be a virtual streamer? Probably not. You see, I had this idea, right? Where I was going to be a video game protagonist that also played video games. But I'm just a mime, you see, who works at the circus. I wandered into one of their offices one day, and I was like, hello, my name is Joey D. King, or JDK for short. Good to meet you. Then he gestured to shake my hand, and I wouldn't take my hand out of my pocket. I mean, I couldn't shake his hand even if I wanted to. Probably came off as a bit awkward. So he sits down with me, and, you know, I pull out my resume, and he goes through it with me one by one, yeah? So he goes, Joey D. King, I see you're 6'3". That's a little tall in our line of work. First of all, oxymoron. Second of all, don't hold it against me. There's not much I can do about that. And you're 269 pounds? You know it. And in skills here, it says, mind break, stopping time, and an app on your phone that hypnotizes people. I see your point. That last one isn't really a skill. It's just a neat thing I'd like to bring up. It also says I speak... Joey interrupts me. He says, what makes you want to pursue a career in VTubing? Well, I say, it's all right here. In my dreams and aspirations. I'm a mime by trade, you see. I love performance art and thespianism and VTubing. And I do it because I love the characters, not just a fling. You see, I got this one character, you know what I'm saying? And he goes, Sir Joey D, I'm not sure how to say this, but we'll give you a call. So that pitch failed a couple more times. Most of the times I didn't get a response, and I think I got a restraining order, but you live and learn, am I right? Even if no one believes in me, I still believe in me. And I'm still here after all. You know, speaking of agents and agencies and all that, I've had this feeling I'm being watched. I don't know by who though. The CYA, the FDI, IRS, I don't know. But I call them gents. So if there are any gents watching this right now, make yourself known. Yeah, I didn't think it'd be that easy. So if you're watching this right now, I guess you would be a gent. And I know all you gents only come to catch some of Miss P's stream. Wait, hold on. Miss P's stream. Hold on. That sounded kind of weird. Is that your real voice? Oh, thank you. I do like my voice. It's a very nice voice. Unlike everything else, my voice I was born with. But, you know, speaking of Miss P's stream, not that kind of stream. I mean, like, when she's streaming, right? So, I don't blame you for trying to catch her stream because, you know, she's amazing. She has like 5 billion subscribers. She has enough concurrent viewers to fill like 100 coliseums. You know, just try to imagine that. 100 coliseums, where it's not like gladiators fighting lions or anything, but like Miss P streaming Apex. And I probably shouldn't talk about Miss P now that her stream's over. It's kind of strange. I find it kind of trashy to talk about her. Unless I'm in her stream or she's in my stream. But, you know, regardless of whether I say anything good or bad, Miss P's something else. Well, her name isn't really Miss P. Her name is Miss Perundis. She was the one we saw earlier in the picture. All this kind of makes it feel like it's my debut, but I could never make it as a VTuber, you know? It reminds me more of Miss Perundis' debut. That's Pear Undies. It was years ago, back when I still had all of my fingers and teeth. See, she posted her Twitter model reveal, and infamously, she needed 34,803,400 and 68 retweets to reveal the whole model. See, every retweet would actually reveal one more pixel of her model. And the whole image was 6.9 megabytes. And of the whole image, only 24,014,393 of those pixels were non-transparent. So some people would retweet and only reveal untransparent pixel. Imagine that. So I remember I had to use all 33 of my Twitter accounts to get as many pixels as possible. I know I wanted the pixels right between her cheeks, the little triangle nose. Let me see if I can bring her picture back up. Hold on. It's really small, but if you saw her, she has this little brown triangle nose. I wanted to get those pixels when I retweeted her model. I got in real early, but I had to wait for a bit because, like, you know, you start from the feet and you go up. Anyway, now that her millionth stream is over, I hear she's going to be on a 10,000 year hiatus. So I guess now's a good time to talk about some of her lore, right? So from what I remember, she comes from the mythical planet of VTubers, yeah? Well, you know, otherwise known as POV, you see? And apparently she came to this world to be a VTuber. Her words, not mine. So yeah, not everyone from POV becomes a virtual streamer, believe it or not. But she was the greatest streamer of her planet. And her whole thing was she came to our world to take it over, something like that. She had this gimmick where she was like a flower or a fruit or like death or something. I didn't get it, but she debuted with 100 other virtual streamers in her generation. And she was the fourth reveal. Yeah. To my knowledge, I think she's the last remaining streamer of her generation. So out of 100 other gen mates, she's the last one left. And she's real short. She's only like 122 centimeters off the ground. Yeah, apparently the strongest members from POV are the shortest members. And on her planet, she fills a size 8 women's high-heeled boot with burgundy nail polish, followed by clear coat on top of that. Outward appearance-wise, if you got a good look, you see she's missing a red fishnet stocking on her right leg. I don't know where it is, so don't ask me. Personally speaking, I have to say, my favorite stream of hers was this one time when she ate a donut every 8 minutes for 5 days straight, yeah? She's just doing super chat catch-ups, right? And then at the end of the 5 days straight, she fought off this axe-wielding maniac. It was crazy. I stayed for the whole thing. I had to use some paid time off just to be there. You see, she gets early access also, like way before anybody else, right? I remember one time she sped run Half-Life 3 using a CD-ROM of Half-Life 1 in one hand and Half-Life 2 in the other, right? Imagine that. And then she put both CD-ROMs on top of DJ Hero controllers, and then she sped run the whole game. It was absolutely crazy. She is the best VTuber ever, if you ask me, right? And then right after she sped run Half-Life 3, she imported the whole game into Roblox, and then she beat her previous best, which at the time was the world best. It was amazing. Let me see. What else do I remember from her trivia? Her membership, right, is paid in either blood or firstborns. Funnily enough, she got a lot of blood donations, but she didn't get a lot of firstborn donations. Isn't that funny? Let me see here. She can see into the future. She could speak over 400 languages. You know, seeing into the future, right? And whatever. It's kind of like a racial power. All members from Planet POV can have some sort of power or whatever. Speaking 400 languages, that's not a power of hers. Just to be clear, she just worked really hard to be able to learn 400 languages. You know, in a perfect world, I would say she would never stop streaming and there would be no war. Let's see here. I guess we can go back to my resume. Next thing on, I really got to update this thing. This thing has been like this for a while now. And I feel like he didn't really get like the gist. He just barely scanned it over. So maybe we can update it here. Let's see here. Favorite anime, professional mime, favorite video games. Let's see here. Favorite animes. Yeah, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I put that one in the front. I'm a big fan of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, I gotta say. If you don't know, JoJo's is like this, it's a generational, and at this point, it's like a multiversal story about a protagonist. They're always called JoJo, and there are apparently 9 parts. Each one has a different JoJo, yeah? And they'll usually include a new supporting cast, and they'll have returning characters and plot points and all that stuff. After the first 6 parts, part 7 starts an entirely new universe, right? Where it ditches everything, and the last 6 parts and that's like the end of the original universe. Parts 7 to 9 take place in this new universe, with part 9, I think it's still in serialization. So right now, part 9 only has 3 issues called the JoJo Lambs, right? Let me see. What else did I put there? I mean, like, one thing that I find great about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is how much it's inspired a lot of the media that we see today. Like, unless you've seen the anime or read the manga, you might not get it, right? Like, for example, Street Fighter has a lot of JoJo-inspired characters in it. Tekken, King of Fighters. Well, Tekken and King of Fighters really only have Polnareff, now that I think about it. Let me see here. There's also Shaman King and Yu-Gi-Oh! Inspired by JoJo's, especially like Duelist Kingdom and Battle City. And now that I think about it, you know, one thing I find interesting is that both JoJo's and Yu-Gi-Oh! They're both these proxy-style shonen that have multiple parts over multiple universes. And both protagonists have a moniker to their name, right? Like in Yu-Gi-Oh! All the protagonists have Yu in their name, right? Like Yugi, Yuki, Yuya, all that. And in JoJo's, all the protagonists have the Joe moniker in their name. Let me see here. You're also going to see a lot of minor nods to JoJo. They're called JoJo references. But, I mean, like, JoJo also, like, takes inspiration as much as it gives it. Like, you guys know stand cries? Like the Ora, 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 Muda, Muda, Muda thing? I'm willing to bet they originally came from Fist North Star with Kenshiro, right? He'll go, ah, ta, 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 which also, interestingly enough, was inspired by Bruce Lee, right? Bruce Lee would always punctuate all of his attacks with "ata." Not to mention Kenshiro, like, especially like early Kenshiro, he looked a lot like Bruce Lee. So, like, you know, the way I see it, there's a clear line of inspiration, right? From Bruce Lee to Kenshiro to Star Platinum, right? Actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, that would make Jotaro like really cool, because he's like, Jotaro was inspired by Clint Eastwood, and his stand was inspired by Bruce Lee. So it's Clint Eastwood and with the stand of Bruce Lee. Wow. Nowadays, it's also inspired by fashion like Vogue and Gucci. Let me see here. You know, I haven't even touched on stands yet, you know? Honestly speaking, stands are probably my most favorite Magic system ever. Like, I prefer to have a stand over any other kind of power. Even like a pissy stand, you know? Like, because a stand is so personalized to you. Plus, you can, like, name it whatever you want. You can name it after your favorite band. You can name it after your favorite song or whatever. Plus, you know, it can do almost anything. And it can, like, evolve further, right? It's kind of like the ultimate starter Pokemon, you know? Let me see. All in all, I can't remember what life was like before JoJo's. I see the references everywhere, you know? It's kind of like Among Us, you know? Jojongus. Let me see here. What else did I put? I mean, personally speaking, I'm a big fan of old animes. Like, I also have Kinnikuman here. That's a really deep cut in anime, Kinnikuman. Let me see. I should probably put Berserk here, like the old Berserk anime, not the new CGI one. Did I put Fist North Star, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Ray Zero, Chobits, Interspecies Reviewers, Kinnikuman, Death Note, Clannad? Yeah, I really gotta update this. I'll put Fist North Star, the old Berserk, and probably a bunch of other ones too. You know, speaking of Kinnikuman, if you haven't heard, I hear it's getting a new anime adaptation, so that's gonna be pretty hype. I really hope they get up to like Buffalo Man or like Akama Shogun or something like that. Let me see. I guess I could talk about Kinnikuman also for a bit, you know? So I'm currently in the tag tournament arc. It's this arc where they're essentially all the heroes and villains are tag teaming to fight all other heroes and villains. And the anime as a whole is a bit unorthodox. It's good, but it's a bit unorthodox if you don't know what you're getting into, right? So the first arc, it's just a parody of like Kaiju and Ultraman. So you'll see references to like King Ghidorah, Mothra. Oh, by the way, I'm a huge like Gojira fan, by the way. Let me see here. And then after that short arc, it goes into like this whole like multiple tournament arc where every single arc is a tournament. Like, you guys know like tournament arcs, right? They're like very common in like shonen anime manga. I'd say Kinnikuman is definitely one of the grandfathers of the whole tournament arc trope, because everything in Kinnikuman is just a huge tournament. If if you know anything about Kinnikuman, you know that it's all about wrestlers, right? They're intergalactic wrestlers that are like fighting to save the universe with wrestling. Oh, and how can I forget the power of friendship, you know? Like, you got tournament arts, you got the power of friendship, because in Shonen, the power of friendship, right? It's this invisible force that the protagonists and the heroes use to overcome great obstacles and villains and stuff. You see it in like JoJo's, you see it in Yu-Gi-Oh! You see it in Naruto, you see it in One Piece. But the thing is, in Kinnikuman, the power of friendship is not so invisible, right? The power of friendship, it's like a real world phenomenon. And it's a legitimate way that Justice Chojin, they try to economize their attack potency. It's not like insinuated or like hinted at, you know? It's a real power source, you know, multiple times throughout the show, right? The protagonist, he'll overcome these overwhelming odds with one of two things, right? His burning inner strength and the power of friendship that the Justice Chojin like aligns him with. There's actually multiple different types of Chojin in the show. Like, you got Chojin and you got subclass Chojins. Like, for example, there's this character called Ramen Man, yeah? Fan favorite, right? He's a brutal Chojin and a justice Chojin, right? So what that means is that a brutal Chojin means that he has access to these brutal fatalities, like the camel clutch. Like, if you've ever seen the camel clutch, like in WWE, like the video games, right? You take your hands, right? You put them together, right? You put your locked hands underneath the opponent's chin. You straddle their back, and then you pull on their chin until you turn them into like a freaking acute angle. And then you keep pulling until you turn them into like no angle, an acute angle. It's brutal. Like, I remember in the manga, right? Ramen Man, he used the camel clutch, and he fucking broke this guy's back, and then he split him in half. It was crazy. You also have Devil Chojin, Perfect Chojin, a bunch of cool stuff. Was there a pony show? Was there? I think there was a pony show that used the power of friendship. It was it a shonen or a shoujo? I don't remember. Something like that. Let me see. You know, I've been hyping up Kinnikuman a lot as like some sort of grandfather of modern day shonen. But here's the crazy thing though. The protagonist himself, Kinnikuman himself, is anything but a standard shonen protagonist. Like, what I mean by that is that he's rude, he's cowardly, he's lewd, sometimes he's stupid, he's making fart jokes all the time, he's a crybaby. Actually, you know what? Being a crybaby actually kind of stuck around for some modern day shonen protagonists, if you guys know which ones. He's lazy, and most damning of all, Kinnikuman, believe it or not, has a functioning, loving relationship with both of his living parents. Dun dun dun. But your run-of-the-mill modern-day shonen protagonists, it feels like they're the complete antithesis of this, right? They're not particularly rude. They're brave. They're smart. They're dense like a brick. They probably have one or more dead and dysfunctional parents. And it's honestly kind of refreshing to see a protagonist that's so obtuse and free-spirited. Let me see. I haven't even mentioned the supporting cast. You got Terry Man, Ramen Man, like I said before, Geronimo, Robin Mask. They're all great characters in their own right. But they also get plenty of screen time, like lots of time to shine, you know? It's stuff like this that make up the bones of shonen anime. You'll see all your shows in a brand new light, yeah? Speaking of bones, it's kind of like how Bone D made my bones. We're going to talk about Bone D a little later, right? Let me see here. I guess we could talk about the rules, the channel rules of when I'm streaming, yeah? So, first rule, make sure I don't use any nouns, good or bad, but like nouns from like Urban Dictionary, right? Like nouns that don't exist. Words like, I mean, now I could say them because the conversation is about said nouns, but I'm talking about words like VTuber, simp, Karen, Chad. You guys probably know a whole bunch of words like that. Try to keep me from saying them. Second rule, don't let me talk about other streamers during my stream unless they're in the stream or I'm in the stream or I got some express permission or something like that. The only exception, caveat by the way, is Miss Perundis herself. I can talk about her because before she went on hiatus, she gave me express permission to talk about her. So that should be fine. Let me see. On my resume, I also put my schedule. I guess I could talk about that for a bit. So, I work 9 to 5, Mondays to Saturdays. So I'll be able to stream after that at around 7, at like Tuesdays at 7, Thursdays at 7, and Saturdays at 7 here on Twitch. So I'm going to give myself enough time after work at the circus to get back and, you know, set up. And also a little extra time in case I need to say overtime. Let's see here. Goals, likes, dislikes, all pretty standard stuff. I feel like the guy that interviewed me, he really sort of didn't get the full grasp of my skills. You know, he doesn't know what I'm fully capable of. He just sort of breezed them over. So maybe I should just kind of explain my skills here so that they make more sense, yeah? So for time stop, that's the first one there, yeah? So the way time stop works is I really just use it to give myself more time to think about what I'm going to say before I say it. Sometimes I could talk really fast, and I really appreciate being able to have more time to ponder my next set of words before they come out of my mouth. So the way time stop works, right? It's a bit complicated, especially when I get into the nitty gritty of it. So maybe I can just kind of, you know, explain the important parts. So essentially, the way time stop works is I can move in stop time, but nothing else that's alive can move in stop time. So non-living objects within a range of about like 1 meter can move with me, like my clothes or like my controller, right? Or whatever. See, if time stop didn't work like that, then every time I would stop time and move, I would bust out of my clothes, and we can't have that. So essentially, that's just how time stop has to work, right? Stuff that's non-living, like clothes, air, rocks, as long as it's within 1 meter of me, it can move. But living things during stop time can't move, yeah? Like, if that wasn't the case, I wouldn't be able to breathe during stop time because the oxygen, the molecules of oxygen would just be suspended in the air. They'd never reach my lungs. So I don't use stop time all the time. All the time, no. I don't use it all the time because the problem is you can't play video games during stop time, you know? See, because the electricity you need doesn't go all the way through the wiring in your walls and reach your PC or your console during stop time, right? I mean, I guess my Steam Deck works, so I guess that's good. I can still use that. Let me see, next skill. Mind break, yeah? It's more of an eye-opener than a mind break, but people don't know what I mean when I call it the eye-opener. I get a much better response when I call it mind break, yeah? So the way it works is it makes a person more comfortable going outside their box, going outside their comfort zone. Honestly speaking, I wish it would work on me because I feel like my horizon is very much too expanded. Like at this point, I feel like I've tried everything at least once. Like I'm 31 years old, birthday December 13th, 1991. And I feel like I've tried almost everything at least once, you know? So if I could just expand my own horizon, that would be really great. Let me see here. Third skill, app on phone that hypnotizes people. I actually do have an app on my phone that hypnotizes people. I don't use it all the time. You see, because, you know, as you can probably imagine, as a mime, I'm an actor, right? I'm a thespian. So at work, right? The hypnosis is mainly just used for an enhanced form of pantomime. You guys know pantomime? Pantomime is where you essentially act out like you're doing something. Like if you sitting in your chair right now, I told you pantomime, you tuning a guitar, right? You would have to, you know, pretend you're holding the guitar, pretend you're holding it right, pretend you're tuning it right. You're like strumming the strings to hear the tune. That's pantomime. You don't actually have a guitar. But with the hypnosis app, pantomime is much more effective. Just like imagine that, right? You're seeing a mime do that classic like trapped in a box bit. But he has hypnosis on his phone, right? Now you're hypnotized. Now you see the box, right? It's such a much more effective form of pantomime. Let me see here. So that's that. Final power can speak Spanish. He didn't even see that one at all, actually. So for my final power, I don't use it a lot. I barely even use it at all at work, as you could probably guess, because well, like I'm a mime, so mimes don't talk, right? But here, I might speak Spanish to help viewers feel more comfortable, you know? Hablo español para la gente hispana a sentir más cómodo. I might just also use it to swear, one or the other. So those are skills. I want to make sure that they understood that correctly. Yeah, like, I didn't want him to think that it was something off-brand, that it was something like devious or something like that. If he gave me a chance to explain, he'd understand how my powers work. Profile, professional mime, 10 years, casual gamer, Deep Rock Galactic, favorite games, Slay the Spire, Binding Isaac, GTFO, great games, good anime. Favorite color, yellow, yes. Favorite number, I'm not really sure why, but this would have to be my favorite number out of all of them. I decided to go with an integer. I could have gone with like an irrational number or a fraction or a decimal. I decided to go with an integer. Pretty basic in that sense. The specific integer I chose was 406,475. I think that's a very nice integer for favorite number. It's a very large number, and it's a very round number, definitely. Let me see here. Maybe I should update my favorite video games. Maybe that's what threw them off. Let's see here. Deep Rock Galactic. Yeah, Deep Rock Galactic. It's this really fun first-person shooter, but it's a mix of Minecraft, Left 4 Dead / Borderlands 2. So essentially in Deep Rock Galactic, you play as this polygonal dwarf along with up to 3 other dwarves. It's a co-op first-person shooter. You go underground, right? So you go on your little pod, you go underground into this planet, and you essentially just, shoot bugs and mine minerals in the planet. And then you take all those minerals at the end of your mission, you go back to your base, and you upgrade your guns, get better guns, get cosmetics, get all kinds of cool, neat stuff. And then you just repeat that process over and over and over again until you become the best little dwarf in all of Deep Rock Galactic. Let me see here. Second game, Slay the Spire. Really good game. Indie game, just like Deep Rock Galactic. Slay the Spire is this deck building roguelike game where you essentially play as one of 4 different class characters, and you go through the world collecting cards and building your deck and fighting monsters and stuff, and you got to try to economize your items and your cards as best as you can. Like, if you've played any kind of deck building, like Yu-Gi-Oh, for example, this is where your deck building skills really come to shine. One thing Yu-Gi-Oh has taught me is you can't put all of your favorite cards in a deck. It doesn't work like that. You're not going to get a good deck, right? As much as I love all the Karibos, I can't make a Karibo deck without proper support, right? So don't just fill your deck in Slay the Spire with all your favorite cards. You got to only put the good cards for consistency. If you don't have consistency, you're going to lose in the game. Next game, Binding of Isaac. This might make it seem I'm talking about the Flash Binding of Isaac. I'm talking about the new Binding of Isaac. Binding of Isaac Rebirth. Or Anti-Birth, or whatever they call it now. So I guess this resume really does need updating. So Binding of Isaac, if you don't know, you play as one of many Isaacs. And it's kind of like this, not really Tim Burton-esque. It's more like this, like dark biblical rogue-like game where you go from floor to floor. A lot of roguelikes, actually. You go from floor to floor to floor, trying to collect all these dope items and beat the final boss. And then you just keep redoing that, beating different final bosses, unlocking new items for your runs and things like that. But what makes Binding of Isaac particularly special for a roguelike is how unique its items are. Like, if you've ever played like a very standard roguelike, you'll find items that are like, oh, increased damage, increased speed, increased shooting faster. But in Binding of Isaac, you'll get like an item that's like, oh, replaces your pea shooter with the freaking laser gun. Or like replaces the pea shooter with a grenade launcher. Or what if you pick the grenade launcher and the laser gun? You get laser grenades. It's absolutely insane the amount of synergy and the amount of unique items you're going to find in Binding of Isaac. I don't even think I remember them all, and I have probably 1,000 hours in the game by now. Let me see. Next game. GTFO, another indie game. Really good game. It's not roguelike. It's not procedurally generated like Deep Rock Galactic procedurally generated, Slay the Spire procedurally generated, Binding of Isaac procedurally generated. GTFO, for the most part, isn't procedurally generated except for the items. But that doesn't really count, right? So in GTFO, you play through very particularly made levels that are meant to be played a very specific way. It's really refreshing to not play a procedurally generated game every once in a while. Like, these levels in GTFO are so particularly and meticulously made to be played a certain way. And it's just your job to figure out how you're supposed to beat it. It's a 4-player co-op shooter. You could play solo, you could play with bots, whatever. It's really nice, extremely challenging, and definitely would recommend. Next game, Civilization 5, Civ 5. Not an indie game, first one on the list. If you don't know Civ 5, you basically play as a world leader of some kind. You take control of your little city, and you got to try to take over the world, right? So you, along with a bunch of other world leaders, try to take over the world in one of multiple ways. If I remember correctly, I believe there are 5 ways you can win in Civ 5, right? You could either win militarily, which is essentially you just dominate all the other players, right? You would essentially take over their cities, and if none of them have their capital left, I guess you would be the last civilization with your original capital. You would win through domination. The next way, I believe, is cultural victory, and this is a really neat concept. Essentially, you produce more culture and tourism than any other civilization, meaning that in spirit, your civilization is within the spirit and has overtaken the culture of every other civilization. Their people want nothing to do with their culture because yours is the best one in the whole world. The next one is the scientific victory, which is like essentially you have to build a spaceship, get you off the planet, and then conquer a new planet where you're the only civilization and Earth is basically just kaput because, you know, you left and they could go squabble for Earth while you take over a new planet. The fourth one, let me see, is the diplomatic victory, I believe. So the diplomatic victory is essentially where you have to have everyone vote you into being the new leader. So how do you get the other players to vote you to let you win the game, right? Well, essentially, you don't. You let the city-states, which are non-playable characters in the game, you have, if you collect enough affinity with all the city-states, they'll all vote you into being the world leader. Or you could also bribe votes from the other civs in exchange for money or something like that. I can't remember the 5th way. It's been a while since I played that game, actually. Total Warhammer 3. It's another non-indie game, kind of like Civ 5. The difference is in Total Warhammer 3, you don't actually win through anything other than through domination. Domination is the only way you can win. But what makes it particularly special, because it just sounds like cut down Civ 5. No, what makes it particularly special is in Total Warhammer 3, well, one, you play in the fantasy world of Warhammer Fantasy. That's cool. Second of all, is the game engine's unique way of manually letting you do combat. Because in Civ 5, the combat is just strong guy versus stronger guy. In Total Warhammer 3, you can use strategies and tactics and logistics to sort of outwit your opponent. And you could beat a much stronger army with a much particularly weak army if you have the right tactics and use the environment to your advantage. So Total Warhammer 3, I'm probably going to play that one. Barrow Trauma, yeah. Barrow Trauma, it's this indie game, roguelike, yeah, I know, right? Indie, roguelike, what's new, am I right? Where you play as a submarine guy who's on another planet, and you essentially take your submarine and you take it on different missions throughout the world, and you basically just try to be the best little submarine man in the whole world. You upgrade your ship, you do a whole bunch of neat stuff in that game. It has this weird kind of Happy Wheels aesthetic, but once you go past the aesthetic, there's a lot to really admire about it from a roguelike perspective for Barrow Trauma. They were able to achieve a lot in the game, given the resources that they chose to work with. Let me see, is that the last game? No, there's one last game. Don't Starve. That should actually be Don't Starve Together. I really got to update this resume. Don't Starve Together. Okay, so the last game I put on this list, it's, believe it or not, roguelike, where... yeah, this is the Tim Burton-esque game where you essentially play as this little Tim Burton cartoon character, and you're thrown into the world, and you have to collect resources and build bases, and you can team up with other little Tim Burton-esque characters with their own little special powers or whatever, and you just keep building your base until you've basically gotten the game to play itself at that point. So that's my favorite games I put there. And the reasons why I put them. Let me see here. Top animes. Talked about JoJo's. Ray Zero, really good. I'm in the middle of season 2 right now. Ray Zero, I gotta say, I find, if you're familiar with the show, I find Subaru's pain and suffering in the show to be particularly artistic. It's a very nice It's a very nice show. Yeah, Don't Starve Together. Really like that game. If I could collab with other people who don't know how to play the game, that would be a lot of fun. Because if I was to do that, what I would do is I would start the game and then just leave immediately. And then be like, you know, filtering them little tips on how to play the game. And then they'll meet me back later, right? Like 10, 20 hours later. And I'd be like, hey, how you doing? How you doing right now, man? You want to trade? Yeah, we're going to trade, right? We're going to like trade what we found. And they'll show me their sticks and their grass. I'm like, yeah, that's really nice. Here, you can have this walrus tusk I got. You're gonna need it because like winter's coming. Let me see here. Yeah, Ray Zero, Chobits. Really like Chobits. Chobits is yeah, like if you notice in my anime, I switch between shoujo and shonen anime, right? Shoujo, shonen, or something like that. Chobits, really good anime. It's about this guy who falls in love with his appliance. I mean, that's a bit reductive, honestly, but it's about this guy and he falls in love with like this model of robot called the Chobits. And, you know, it's a nice little love story if you know, if you know a lot of shoujo. It has a very shoujo-esque feel to it. Interspecies Reviewer, really good, honestly. If you look at it from strictly a fantasy or artistic perspective, Interspecies Reviewer does a lot of neat things with the whole high fantasy genre, if you ask me. Kinnikuman talked about that. Death Note, you know, Death Note, if you don't know, is this super dope thriller about a guy. He finds a book that whoever's name he writes in the book dies. But there's a bunch of little minutia about the book and the lore of the book that is really interesting. Like, you know, how people, how people die, when they die. There's a bunch of minutia about the show that's really interesting. The Shinigami have some pretty cool lore. Let me see here. Clannad, also a really good shoujo. It's about this guy and girl named Tomoya and Nagisa, and they end up together based off the visual novel game. In the visual novel game, you could choose any of the girls actually, but in the anime they chose Nagisa as the girl, and you know, you play as Tomoya, obviously. Probably one of my favorite rom-coms. It gets pretty heavy near the second season, but Clannad overall really good. Like it. Okay, schedule, talked about that. Favorite color, favorite number. Goals, okay. Do a charity collab stream. Yeah, that would be really dope to one day do. I got a bunch of ideas. Personally speaking, I'd say my most ambitious collab I would ever want to do would be to do a roast of me, where people just roast me, and that would be the collab stream, and it would be so funny to watch. I'll be dying of laughter, I swear. Second goal, catch up with One Piece. A bit harder. I'm only up to like episode 100. I thought they would have changed the opening by episode 100. I thought they changed it every 50 episodes. Apparently not. The first 50 episodes were We Are, and then the next 50 episodes, and then I'm up episode 101. They haven't changed the opening, so I'm still waiting. The show's still on 5x3, so I still have like 1,000 more episodes to go. Third, defeat the Onceler. Definitely haven't done that yet. I'll keep you guys updated. That one might be the hardest one. See, I put the goals in order of difficulty. Make a friend. Anyway. Likes and dislikes. What are they? Why'd I put them there, right? First like, mycology. What is mycology? Mycology is the study of fungi, the fungus among us, as it's been known to be called. Here's what's important. Fungi are not plants, right? Fungi are a lot closer to animal cells than plants, yeah? The reason is because plant cells have certain organelle in them that fungi don't have, right? Plant cells, you know, if you take an earth science, you know that plant cells have the cell wall. You know, they have the chloroplast. Fungi don't have cell wall or chloroplast. So from that molecular sense, fungi are much closer to animal cells than plant cells. Let me see here. Did you know that the largest living creature ever was a particular honey mushroom, otherwise known as Armadillo ostiae, right? It is a huge 3.5 square mile large mushroom, if you include the size of the mycelium as well, which I always do, of course. But this is a humongous fungus among us. Let me see. It's 10,000 years old, right? So here's hoping for another 10,000 years. So that way it can catch Perundis at the end of her hiatus. Am I right? Next, drawing. Yes, I'm not so good at drawing anymore, but I have a friend who's great at drawing. Technically 2 if you count Bondi as well. So I would like to do some drawing and talking streams. So it'll be Clip Studio Paint on a Surface Pro 3 if you have in parity similar software and hardware. So if you use Photoshop and like a Wacom tablet, it'll be very much kind of the same thing. If you draw with a mouse, I feel for you. That is torture. Gaming. Yeah, talked about my favorite games before. Binding of Isaac, bunch of indie games. Don't Starve Together, Civ 5. Lots of indie games. Big casual gamer here. Oxymoron, that one. Manga anime. Talked about my favorite animes. I guess I didn't really talk about my favorite manga so much. So I read manga and light novels. I'm currently reading this one manga called My Wife Has No Emotion. It's kind of like Chobits, if you're familiar with it. It's about a guy. He falls in love with his appliance. That's a robot girl. And I'm also reading the light novel for Overlord. Because I saw the anime. Got to put that in favorite animes. I really liked the anime, so I started reading the manga. Because the art on the cover was amazing. And the light novel goes through a lot more stuff you don't really see in the manga. It's really, really cool. Like, the protagonist, he's very cautious in the anime. But in the manga, he's overly cautious, even more so. A lot of stuff gets cut out, obviously, between anime and light novel. Let's see. And my last Miss Perundis herself. Perundis, however you want to say it. Miss P. She, in my opinion, is the greatest virtual streamer. No. She's the greatest internet sensation I've ever seen. But, it wasn't always like that, actually. I was actually there for her first stream. It happened years ago, back when I still had all of my fingers and all my teeth. Right? So it was actually accredited in the Gaming World Record book as the most scuffed debut stream of all time. So that's how bad it was, right? It actually exposed a vulnerability in modern day streaming software that's still being patched to this day. Some viewers reported that the internet was so bad on her first stream that they're still waiting for the connection to this day, years later, 1 million streams after. And a small amount of fans that actually finished her stream were psychoanalyzed afterwards. It was determined that they suffered from this thing called Joey syndrome, whatever that means. It was, at least to say, probably not her best stream. Wait, hold on. Did I use the word fans just now? Like, did anybody notice? I said, a small amount of fans, I think. Like, a small amount of fans, yada, yada, yada. I said that, right? Oh, piss. Hold on, wait. Let me pull out a dictionary. Is fans a real word? Like the way I just used it? Let me see here. Producing air, right? Broad surface. Feathers. Triangle, semicircle. Tail of a bird. Yada, yada, yada. Ceiling fan, wall fan. Yeah. Horology. No, like, I mean it like, as in like, piss. Okay, so have I been using the word fans wrong the whole time? Is fans only to be used in the terms of a mechanical fan, like a ceiling fan? Like, when I say fans, I mean like a patron or like an Oshi or something, right? Like fans, right? Hold on, wait. Let me check the Oxford English Dictionary. I gotta make sure I use the word correctly. Yeah, wait, hold on. An enthusiastic devotee, follower, or admirer. Yeah, that, right? So it is a real word. Interesting that fans, plural, is a real word, but I can't seem to find fans singular to what I mean. Anyway. So yeah, back to Perundis' debut. I remember a lot of people thought she wasn't going to make it after her debut, but here we are, 1 million streams later, and her 10,000 year hiatus, and she's still going. So pretty good, I gotta say. Okay, I guess I could touch up on my dislikes. I have them here, so might as well. I got a hypocrisy. Okay, if you don't know what hypocrisy is, right? It's hold on, let me stop time and think about this. So hypocrisy is essentially where you enforce rules onto others that you yourself don't enforce onto yourself appropriately, right? What does that mean? So a good heuristic for it would be practice what you preach. That's what they say, right? So say you're like a smoker, but you go around telling people not to smoke, right? Although it's good advice, you'd be a hypocrite for saying so. Or, okay, maybe something a bit more topical would help. So say you hate cringe, but you also post cringe. That would be an act of hypocrisy. Now, what constitutes cringe or keck? That's outside the scope of this conversation. But I hope the analogy has been helpful. Now, why do I dislike hypocrisy? That's the question, right? Well, see, if the universe is logical, hypocrisy would be to be intentionally illogical. Well, at least intentional hypocrisy, right? So it's essentially being intentionally illogical. You follow me? So if the universe is logical and you're being intentionally illogical, that'd be wrong. So let's see, next one. Images with fake transparent pixels like on Google Images. Yeah, just don't do that. That's like really sucky. Okay, so I guess we could talk about this guy. This guy here is Bone D. He made my skin. So thank you for the skin, Bone D. It's very nice skin. It's not too hard. It's not too soft. He also made my bones. They're very nice bones. It gives me physics. He's a very good artist. Yada, yada, yada. I'm his only living creation. Let me see. What else is there? The intro music at the start was made by the band on YouTube called Exit Enter. They make really good music on YouTube. Go check them out. I remember when I asked for the intro music, I made the request to get very threatening and surreal kind of music. They make music that's kind of like that, has that threatening, surreal vibe. So go check them out. So I guess since we have Bondy here, I guess we can show the model off a little bit. Let me just put the moneymaker front and center. Yep. Okay, there you go. So in classic fashion, I'll start with the head, not the toes this time. So let's see what he gave me. $1 million smile. Let me see if he got the mole right. Yeah, the mole looks good. I like the eyes, like the eyebrows. Got some hair physics there. Hair moves a little bit. Like the horns. Let's see if we got my tongue right. Yeah, I remember specifically he had to get the pizza tongue type, the slice of pizza type tongue just right. He gave me the red tie. Decided to go with the red tie today. I think I have other ties, but today was more of like a red tie kind of occasion. Got the striped wife beater. Got the suspenders, a little gold trim on the suspenders. Let's check out give me the nice belly physics. Could use a little more, but I like it. Keep my hands in my pockets. Don't show off my fingers. Don't have a belt, but I got these nice pinstripe pants. Wonder where he got these pants from. The Joker? I like it. What's this at the end here? We got some cuffed pants, and what is that? Is that cougar print maybe? Cougar print socks and some leather shoes. Leather Oxfords maybe? Maybe not. Looks like it's maybe snakeskin leather. It's definitely a pebbled leather of some kind. Very fashionable. I like it. Okay, let's bring the moneymaker back up, yeah? There you go. Okay. So, I guess now's a good time for a Q&A, yeah? Let's go back to the picture. Nice picture there. Okay, so who are you? I'm Joey D. King, JDK, Joe K, whatever. If you're an agent, a gent, you'll probably know a lot about me. What do you do? Don't say your mom. During the day, I work 9 to 5 at a circus, from Mondays to Saturdays. On my off time, like right now, I play video games and I talk to myself. Why though? For real? I don't know. Okay, when am I online? 3 times a week. Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays at 7 p.m. Where? Here on Twitch. Who, what, when, where, why, how? How do you take a screenshot? Okay, so if you have iPhone 14 or older, you press volume up and power at the same time, yeah? On Android, you press the power and volume down button. Yeah. On Windows PC, you can use the snip and sketch tool to take a screenshot. On Mac, I believe you press Shift, Command, and the number 3. If you're on Linux, I'd recommend using the GNU image manipulation program and then taking your screenshots with that. Any more questions? Crocs? Actually, hold on. Wife beater, suspenders, and Crocs. Now that would be a nice combination for an outfit. I'm gonna have to steal that. I'm gonna steal meme right now, yeah? Do aliens exist? That's a really great question. So I guess there's two ways to look at it. If aliens do exist and if aliens don't exist, right? Both of them are scary prospects, honestly. If aliens do exist, what does that mean? That means that there is an intelligent alien race. Now we're talking Gralians. We're talking like xenomorphs or whatever. We're not talking like alien plant life, alien bacteria, none of that. We're talking about bipedal or quadrupedal. So like, you know, a Gralian, something that's intelligent and can traverse to Earth, right? So if aliens do exist, then that means we have some race that's far older than us, could be millions or billions of years older than us, as far as we know, that can traverse the stars, reach Earth, and essentially just take it over, right? Like what is there really we could do? They got alien guns. Their guns are much more alien than our guns. So if they did come to Earth, they'd just take it over, right? The amount of energy that they could output would be tremendous. It's absolutely insane, which would leave us with no defenses. Aliens, like it would just be XCOM 2 all over again. Aliens would just take over Earth, turn Earth into a giant human-sized zoo, and we would either just have to live with that or die fighting the aliens, right? Scary prospect. Second, what if aliens don't exist? I think this is equally as scary if aliens don't exist, right? So there's this thing called the Great Filter. It's this idea that essentially it's very difficult for sapient life to show up on Earth at all. What do I do, right? If aliens don't... Oh, is that exit entry? Hello. What is it that happens if aliens don't exist? Well, that means that we are the only intelligent life in the universe because of the Great Filter, right? The Great Filter says, assuming that you believe in the Great Filter, it says that it's very difficult for life to show up on a planet, much more difficult than we would have it assume. You know, the classic Jurassic Park, like life finds a way. Well, in this case, it probably doesn't. In fact, it's probably a miracle life showed up on Earth to begin with, right? Like, think of all the things necessary for life to have to show up. It needs to be in the Goldilocks zone. What does that mean? That means that it can't be too hot, can't be too cold, it can't be too far from the sun or too close to the sun. Otherwise, no life, right? What else does a planet need for life to show up? It needs water. It needs some sort of protection from extreme radiation of its sun. It also needs to not have a cataclysmic apocalyptic event every couple years, every 10,000 years. Because, like, you know, say a planet's in the Goldilocks zone, has everything it needs, and then boom, meteor hits every 10,000 years. Well, no aliens, right? Or like radiation or earthquakes or what have you, right? So if it really is such a miracle for life to show up in the universe at all, then Earth would be the only exception. We would be the sole bearers of intelligence in the universe, right? If humans go out, there would be no more instances of the universe being able to observe itself, right? If for some reason humans go extinct, for whatever, you know, any sort of apocalyptic level event, then that's it, right? Like, do you know how old the universe is? It's like 14.5 billion years. That's a lot, right? Humans have been in it for like the blink of an eye, like that. Do you know how much time is left until the last atom disintegrates? Only 5 billion. So imagine that. So 14.5. Say it's like 15, right? We'll round it up to 15. If we're at the 15 billion year mark and we have only 5 billion years left, that's we've been through 75% of the whole speed run of the universe. 20 billion from beginning to end, from Big Bang to end. 20 billion. 15 of those, that's where we are right here, humans. 5 billion left. If humans go extinct, we don't have another 14 billion years for humans to just show up and find a way. That's it. It's just rocks and gas floating through space. Also a scary prospect. Let me see. I guess another question I get a lot is, when did God make the fungi? It definitely wasn't Wednesday. I think it might have been on Sunday. I think that might have been the day. Because plants had their own day. That was Wednesday. The animals had their own day, right? You got the animal kingdom. They had their day. You had the plant kingdom. They had their day. So the fungi must have been made on their own special day. It must have been Sunday because I don't remember it being any other day. I don't know. I'm no theologist, but what do I say? Like, I'm no theologist, but if it had to be a day, I would pick Sunday because there's no way the fungi got left out. Let me see here. You know what? Why the mushrooms? People always ask me, why the mushrooms? Well, that's kind of a multifaceted question. You see, mushrooms are a lot like meat. You know, they just need a little bit of water, stay long periods of time in dank, dark places, and who knows? I could take over the world. Now, fungi like to stay underground until it's time to reproduce. Then they pop their heads out. That's actually the mushrooms you see, right? So, let me see here. I guess that's pretty much it, I'd say. You know, I want to commemorate this with a picture. So I took a picture here of Miss Perundes at the end of her 1 millionth stream. I'm going to take another picture, put it on my chalkboard. So if anyone wants to be in the picture, just type something in chat and you'll show up in the picture. I'll give you a little bit of time because I know there's a bit of lag. We'll commemorate this with that picture. And I'll keep it right here next to this 1 millionth stream picture. I'll type one in myself. And then I'll just take the photo and everyone in it will be commemorated here. So my motto is always, if you're in this stream, you can't be all bad. And, you know, I hear Miss Perundes is teasing her 4D model reveal. So that's going to be pretty fun, right? Maybe after 10,000 years, her 4D model reveal will finally be complete. Well, let me see here. What do I do next? Let me see. I guess who's coming on Saturday? Because I want to know how much food I gotta bring. That's probably gonna be Slay the Spire, if anything.